Nervous.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Here.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Here.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second?
second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we have an oath of office. Don't know if I need the glasses. Roger Fischels, if you will come forward. Hi there, how you doing? Good, thank you. I guess I forgot to bring a pen. This is Roger Fischels, and I'm gonna let you stand here, so we kind of take pictures or anything. And I will read this, and then you can repeat after me. Maybe a copy of it, and you can sign all three of them when we're done. Okay? I
I,
state your name.
Roger Fischels,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all duties of the position of Reserve Officer
discharge all duties of the position of Reserve Officer
in the City of Independence,
in the City of Independence,
as now and hereinafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Thank you. Congratulations. Then I'm gonna let you sign three of them.
Okay.
And you guys do, I guess. Does it matter which one he takes? They're all the same.
Just one for him and two for us.
Get all three?
Two.
I keep two, you keep one.
He has the smallest handwriting of any person I've ever seen. I worked with him for 30 years.
People are like readers.
Congratulations, Roger.
Congratulations, Roger.
Okay, next I need, to have, nobody signed in for public comment. So I will need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the May 28th, 2019 regular meeting, city financials for the month of April, city budgeted and monthly transfers for the month of May, Independence Chamber of Commerce Class B beer and outdoor service liquor license for June 14th, 2019 through June 18th, 2019.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second?
second by Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved.
Motion by Hill.
Second.
Is that Kurt?
Yes.
Okay. Second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay. Next, we will have the chamber come up for our parade information. Nikki?
So I'm here for approval for the new parade route for this year. The only change that I didn't get on that event application, because Charlie McCardle kind of reminded me of it afterwards, is the fire trucks usually line up over here and just like to the parade. So I think, talking to Dustin, we're gonna close First to Second on Fourth Avenue, so they can line up there. That would be the only addition that we'd have. Does that make sense? You're looking at me kind of.
So they won't be out here, they'll,
Well, they will line up down to Second,
oh, okay.
across Fourth, and then he said there's probably like 10 normally, so all 10 of them probably won't fit over there. But he said they'll flip their lights on and go across the 150 to get everybody through, if that's the case. So
Okay.
that'd be the only change to the application.
Does anybody have any questions?
When did we change the alternate route from the schoolhouse coming in this way?
Well, that was a suggestion we had made. It was never an approved route. That was never what they'd asked for. It was a suggestion that we had given them.
So that's what we're doing tonight, is approving it?
Yes, they need approval of the parade route.
The one she's doing.
Well, I've told half the town it's gonna be over on the other side. Now, they're over there in lawn chairs, waiting for that thing to come by.
I'm gonna end up with prime seating then, Denny.
They're gonna be surprised.
We talked about that, and we talked about the length of the, added length of it, starting at the school with some of those people that do the older, people that do, you know, like the color guard, things like that. It's quite a bit further than what this route will be.
This looks like a really good route.
I think it'll be,
Well, I don't care how they do it, it's just that I thought we should have been informed.
We are tonight.
Yeah.
We
We're
are
gonna
tonight,
approve it,
yeah.
hopefully.
It was in the newspaper before I heard about it.
We were hoping that with the construction, everything, that First Street and Second Avenue would be done, where we could actually use the west side of town coming across the bridge, then going north. Still a possibility it might be done, but we don't wanna take that chance of, well, maybe, maybe not, and then last minute decision, try to figure out what we're gonna do. So we looked at both that one and the one that she's proposed tonight, and we felt that this one's not gonna mess with any of the other construction. The only thing we're hindering on is the First Street by Quick Start corner being done, and that's practically done the way it is now. So that one will be back open, the detour routes will be gone, so we'll be able to use this route to make it work instead of having to travel or try to, maybe, maybe not, depending on construction on the corner of First Street and Second Avenue. Because if we get much more rain days, I don't know if the street might be done, but the sidewalks might not be, so then we're putting people in an area where they might fall in a hole. Safety-wise and concerns, this one seems like the better route for this year.
That's good.
I
I
make
don't,
the
like I
motion
said,
to
I don't
approve
really
it.
care.
I'll second it.
I have a question. Were AECom and/or SIGFRI involved in this process?
No.
no, it was, nope.
Why not? SIGFRI has been working on Saturdays, and AECom has said, we're on schedule to have this done, and all of a sudden, we pretty much disrespect them and their judgment, the professionals involved, and go ahead and do something other than, I just find it disrespectful to them, and I don't know if I would expect many favors out of either one of those two going forward on this project.
Let me correct something, Mike. In the meetings that we did have here, we did discuss it with them. And there was a possibility of the street being done, but the sidewalks, they would have to flag off a bunch of areas or fence off a bunch of areas, and that was a concern with us. Being that we need to have something out for the public to see, we did speak with them in the meetings that we had here at City Hall, but my concern is safety-wise for the sidewalk, somebody falling in a hole because of the fencing area. Because as many people as we have on First Street with this type of thing, I don't think a fence would have kept them off of the sidewalks or in areas where they shouldn't have been. So moving it away from that area was best. So when we decided this, I did speak with, I forget the name guy that comes in, Al. I did explain to him what was going on and how we were changing it, so that way we wouldn't have to worry about that area. So I did speak with him, but making the decision of, or looking at the route was something we did without having them in it. So.
Whatever.
And it wouldn't have been just Nikki, it was the chamber board that
I know.
discussed all of it.
And it's their parade, they have if they wanna run it around one block 5 times, they can do that.
Should I
it's
tell
their
my
parade.
idea?
They can do whatever they want, it's just, I feel as though they kind of disrespected some of the people that we have in town doing work for us.
I
There's
had,
no disrespect there. It was, what if it rained for the next 30 days? And try to get to 10 to 20,000 people in a different parade route that didn't know what they were, what was going on. So there was absolutely no disrespect. And I talked to those guys probably 2 to 3 times a week too, so, yeah.
Whatever.
And my understanding also was that we don't even know going forward if the DOT is going to allow us to shut down 150. So that's also something we took into consideration.
any other questions? So I heard you second something. Did somebody make a motion
I made a motion.
to,
Prove it.
to approve what they have planned?
I'll second.
Okay. And Bob seconded it? Okay. Do you need roll call on this? Okay.
Kurt,
An arm wrestle. with
Yes.
Bob.
Hayward,
No,
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. Okay. So on the agenda, a motion to receive, we're public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2019 street improvement project. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by O'Loughlin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. I now need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone out there that wanted to speak on this particular project or subject? Any questions? Did you receive anything in writing or
I have
email? Okay. Any questions or discussion? Then I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Then we are down to resolution finalizing the, approving and confirming plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2019 street improvement project. I need a motion by Kurtz,
Second.
second by Scharf. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Hayward,
yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Make sure I'm on the right line here. Consideration of the bids for the 2019 street improvement project. We have a discussion on this. You want to share all that?
Yes, you can see that in the bids that we received, the engineer's estimate of $347,860. We had a number of very good bids. The low bidder is Top Grade Excavating out of Farley, Iowa at $348,957. So $1,100 of the engineer's opinion of cost.
Do we need a motion or anything on this? Or the next step is to...
That's the next step.
Okay.
The only comment that I have, as you consider these bids, I think the bids are fair and they're good bids. But the question's been raised multiple times about a bond issue. Now that we have this and the next topic coming in, we have all of the projects that we anticipate, and it gives you an idea of where we're at with our $2.7 million bond from last year, what it paid for, what was covered and what was not. And you can see that there is a bond issue in our future to cover these projects. Last year's bond will not cover all of those costs, and I just want to make sure you're aware of that as you move forward.
Okay, so I need a motion to award the contract.
I'll make the motion
You want to fill in the blanks for Farley,
For top grade,
top
top
grade.
grade,
excavating.
okay, out of Farley, for the
340,
348, 957.50? Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Hill, second by Kurtz. Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Moving on to Enterprise Drive. Public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Enterprise Drive East PCC paving, sanitary sewer, and water main construction project. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf.
Second.
Seconded by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Hayward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to the Enterprise Drive East. Did you receive anything in writing on this?
I have not.
Is there anyone out there that would like to speak on this subject? Any discussion from council? Hearing nothing, I want a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now I will need a motion to approve a resolution finally approving plans, specifications, form of contract, and costs for the Enterprise Drive East PCC paving, sanitary sewer, and water main construction project.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Scharf. Roll call, please.
Sharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda is Library Board appointment. I need a motion to appoint Robin Bleekner.
Skipped one.
Did
We
I?
have
Oh, we still have to do the bid. Okay, sorry,
the
sorry.
consideration of the bids. The bids on Enterprise Drive East were very good. We came in roughly $50,000 under the engineer's opinion of cost at $346,186. So that was a positive for us. I'm asking you to take no action on the bids tonight. At this point, we are waiting to close on the property, so we have a place to build this road, primarily the connection to Highway 150 across the frontage of Casey's. One of their criteria that we have to meet before they'll close is finding a bid that's acceptable. I think this is clearly an acceptable bid for us in light of where we've been and all that we've been through. As a matter of fact, I think we had 5 bids that we would consider acceptable in the list, so that's a very strong environment for us. That's been passed on to Casey's. We're waiting for closing. As soon as we can get closed, we've got our public hearing process out of the way. We're ready to proceed as soon as we have property to connect it to Highway 150.
Has there been any correspondence or interaction that would indicate they're ready to?
Nothing back from them. We've corresponded with them. We don't have anything back. There's a couple of other issues. One that doesn't make a lot of sense. It has to do with an access easement for SIPCO to get back to their substation. I don't know why they would cross Casey's property on an access easement when they have a road right beside that access easement, but that's something they have to work through. And the last piece is, I think that DOT has a piece of paper waiting for us, or should be to us very quickly. I know Brian's received some comments. I think Brian would tell you they're all fairly minor, and so there's really, it's a matter of them saying that they'll close. We do have our agreement that says it will close or set closing within 48 hours of having these things met, but I don't have a time for you. No correspondence from them.
So no action tonight. We will need to do
No
that at a
action.
later meeting.
Right, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page as to why we're not approving it, and it's very specific as to not awarding the contract. Has nothing to do with the bid or the contract, it is just making sure that we're supposed to build this street.
Is that bid good for a certain period of time?
It does have, I think, 60 days on it, so we have some time built in there.
Okay, good.
I'd like to thank you, patience of Job working on this project. I thought we might all die of old age before it happened.
Well,
This has taken on a life of its own.
it has that, and we're not quite there yet, but I have to tell you, I feel a lot more confident today.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Library Board appointment, a motion to appoint Robin Bleekner to serve as a member of the Independence Library Board of Directors, I think through
I
2020,
believe it's 23.
23?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe.
Do I hear a motion?
I'd make a motion.
Motion by
second.
Kurt, second by O'Loughlin. Roll call, please.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. The second appointment is one that is for a non-citizen, and I have a motion, I need a motion to appoint Deborah Clark to serve as a member of the Independence Library Board of Directors. This has already been approved by the County Board of Supervisors, but needs your final approval on it.
Second.
Motion by Scharf, second by Kurtz. Roll call, please.
Hannah.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the 150 Trail completion, a motion to approve a resolution accepting the Highway 150 and Enterprise Drive Trail project as complete and authorize final payment on the contract.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Kurt, second by O'Loughlin. Roll call.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is the Public Officials Bond and Property and Liability Broker.
This topic has come out of the Government Performance Finance Committee. We did talk about it last week at our Committee of the Whole. At this point, the umbrella that we're operating under is the fact that we need a form of bond coverage. The committee has been adamant about having a, what's termed a faithful performance bond. We've talked with both Mr. Evers and Mr. Faraday about options there. Some questions came up last week, and I know they're both here tonight. So I guess this would be an opportunity for the council to ask questions. I don't know if you want them to make a presentation, or if you just have questions for them.
I just had a question for Mr. Faraday.
Would you like to come forward, please? Introduce yourself.
Yes.
I guess you need your name and,
You need to give us your name,
Sure,
address.
Chris Faraday, PDCM Insurance, Waterloo, Iowa. We have a location here in Independence in the
Okay.
Glen Building.
I just had a question. The comment was made that you have done quite a bit of municipal work. Do you have other ICAP accounts?
Thanks, that's a great question. We, PDCM is what's called an ICAP certified agency, which means that we have worked over the last year to complete a pretty rigorous certification process as an agency, one that specializes in public entities. In the community and in the area, we work with a number of public entities, whether it's larger entities like the City of Waterloo or smaller communities like the City of Dunkerton or the City of Evansdale. So we work on a very, very regular basis. City of Waverly is a client, working with other communities in the area to help unique public entity risks. Just a little bit different to insure a public entity, as I'm sure you're all well aware in your official capacity.
Do you work with the Light Board in Independence?
Yeah, thank you. I should have mentioned that. Kevin's probably going to give me a kick in the shins when I see him next, but we also work with another entity here in town, the Independence Light and Power.
Okay. So I just wanted to,
Thanks.
one of the biggest questions we had was trying to find the appropriate bonding coverage that met what our needs were. And if you could kind of explain what you had to offer for us, there were some questions that came up.
Sure, you bet. So, in the state code, you are required to have certain positions bonded. And those bonded positions, normally in the insurance industry, rather than writing a bond in each person's individual name, the industry has responded by saying, we're gonna create a form that is going to say any position that requires to be bonded is so bonded under this insurance agreement. And that's called Form O, which is faithful performance of duties. And so it's written on a crime policy, which is a little bit unique because really it's actually designed to some degree to provide coverage for a mistake or a non-faithful performance of duties in delivering their duties under the requirements of the state statute and the bond. So therefore, a number of years ago, ICAP used to provide this, your current provider used to provide this as part of their general package. About 4 or 5 years ago, they pulled out and said, we just don't feel good about providing this. We'd like for you to go outside to a number of different entities that we've negotiated with. And I think my best guesstimate would be that would at the point where the city no longer carried that coverage moving forward.
Question, with the coverage that you're proposing, it covers an honest mistake? I mean, just something that,
So one of the things I provided to both the city manager and city clerk and the committee as well is just the wording itself from the bond wording, because I think sometimes the words matter more than although I'm a certified risk manager, which is like CPA for insurance, ultimately the wording matters more than what I say. And so on the Form O endorsement, it says, we will pay for loss or damage to money or securities resulting directly from the failure of any employee to faithfully perform his or her duties as prescribed by law when such failure has a direct and immediate result of your covered property or the ability to provide covered property.
now this policy doesn't require the employee who inadvertently makes the mistake to have to repay the insurance company, does it?
You know, that's a really good question. So in a lot of bonds, when you live in the construction world, you usually think of a bid bond or a performance bond, and many times you probably approved something similar to that, where if they'd failed to perform, they would come back against the individual person to recoup those bond funds. Form O public entity forms are not written in that manner. That's a bond reimbursement form.
And it's for the position rather than any individual, so it doesn't have to be changed when there's a change of.
Correct. We write a blanket Form O coverage, so that says anyone that's required to be bonded underneath the municipality is done so under this form. So that we don't always have to change names if people roll in and out of positions.
Okay.
I think one piece that's very important to understand is the subrogation to the employee, or the coming back to the employee for an honest mistake is one thing. They will all tell you that there is language in there if there is malice or ill intent, they will come back on the employee, and rightfully so. But that would be the case where it is written, and some of the language is a little harsher that way, but everybody has obviously made that very clear, so we don't misunderstand that piece of it.
Yeah, thanks. A fidelity situation or absconding of funds looks different than a faithful performance issue.
If we were to approve you as agent, when could this bond go into effect?
So once appointed, we've actually already started some initial process work with a number of providers that have this. We'd hope to have it within 7 to 14 days.
So we've been going for a long time.
Years.
Okay, thank you.
All I have. Questions?
Well, my understanding, I'm not on the Government Performance Finance Committee. My understanding at the last committee of the whole was, in order for you to proceed with this, we have to also put the rest of our insurance with you.
Yeah, so.
It's contingent on,
So great question. I think I'd look at it, I guess, much similar to the role of an attorney, and that you wouldn't hire an attorney to craft the indemnification language, but then hire a different attorney to go craft the closing of a contract. When you get into contractual law and risk management, they really need to play a role in the entire program together as part of the city's structure of insurance and risk management.
So you mentioned ICAP used to have this within their package, and they took it like 4 or 5 years out. I mean, they got out. Well, I guess my question to you is, was cities and whoever, what was bonded by this, were they all, were we told?
There was adequate formal notice given on multiple occasions as required under the pool member agreement, that any time that there's a change in the offering of the member agreement, it is notified to the agency that represents the coverage.
Okay. Thank you.
I think, I mean, just so everybody's on the same page, time flies when we're having fun. I believe it was 2011 or 2012 that took place, if I'm not mistaken.
Long
And
days, short years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here at the time, so I won't speak to the exact time frame, but that's as near as we can tell internally here, that would be about the time frame that,
And then we somewhat tried to get coverage and just
Was it-
couldn't or didn't.
well, the question was raised in 2015, and just, I think it didn't get taken care of in 15. I'll just leave it at that. It's, obviously, we don't have it today. It is something we have to take care of. So, it's been dragging on long enough. So, somehow, tonight, I guess my only recommendation is that we take a direction, one way or the other, but we have to get this moving forward. Not to take anything away from Mr. Faraday, I just want to remind the council that Mr. Evers has suggested, since our meeting with him, that he is also capable of providing a form of faithful performance as well. So we don't, again, to be fair to Mr. Evers, I don't want to lose sight of his position either.
The Government Performance Committee met with Mr. Evers and with Mr. Faraday and listened to both of them and talked extensively with them. And based upon the experience that PDCM has of working with other public entities and municipalities, it was our pretty much unanimous decision that we would recommend to the council that we go with PDCM. Nothing against Mr. Evers and what he's provided to us over the years, but we feel that we would be better served by the services that PDCM offers than what we're currently getting with Mr. Evers. We've been chasing this dog for 8 months, trying to find proper coverage, and PDCM was able to offer it to us with not just one company, but several companies as options. So that is my unbiased opinion, and that of the committee.
To put it, and the committee, I think, was looking at from the standpoint of PDCM is more of an insurance consultant as opposed to a broker. And they were talking about more than just brokering the insurance, and I think that's why Mr. Faraday has talked about the entire insurance package versus pieces. And I'm not sure that came out clearly here tonight, but I know that's part of the committee's recommendation was based on that broader representation.
But with all due respect, it wouldn't be that unusual for a municipality to say, we would prefer to keep our other insurance with the other entity, and, for instance, have you guys in because of EMC?
I'm sorry,
If it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be out of place for an entity to say, we appreciate having you folks with the bonding with your EMC because of the price differential between the ones offered there, but we'd also like to stay, I mean, that's my view.
yeah, and I appreciate that as a local business owner as well, who is involved in the community. I appreciate that, and that's an important part of any board's decision. That's part of our decision of why we want an office in Independence. And I think the way that we look at it is just a holistic view, which is we can't help you unless we're involved all the way with our arms around the city to be able to best understand how to cover the program in place. So, for example, there are other things, when you work with municipalities all the time, you find a lot of different things that need to be tweaked and changed to make sure that the individual municipalities covered correctly. For example, in the city of, of Marshalltown, after their tornado last year, there were a couple of problems that popped up which presented some big challenges for Marshalltown.
Sure.
I see a couple of those in the existing program. You don't know that unless you work in municipalities all the time. It's different than home and auto insurance. It's different than the dairy down the street, and it's different than a manufacturer. So that's part of our expertise, and that's why we do it. And what we find is when you piecemeal it, you want to make sure that everything plays nicely together, and this wording goes with the other wording, and that's hard to do if you're not doing it from a holistic perspective, so that you're eliminating some of those other additional things that we see, just because that's the world we live in. The best way to say it is you can go to a hospital, but you still want to make sure that you're going to go see a specialist when it's a knee, rather than seeing a cardiologist. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what the legal profession has become, that's what the insurance profession has become, is you need to be a specialist in a given practice area to be able to give good counsel.
But you can write that for us, even if you don't have the ICAP piece,
So
or
Mayor,
not?
Mayor, that's a great question, and I think what we look for is what I would say full-time client relationships. Where, just like I said, like an attorney, it would say, we're gonna craft this part, but then we're gonna send it to another attorney to craft a different part of the contract. That congruency is not in the best interest of the community, and as a community member, we wanna do what's in the best interest of the community, not just necessarily for us. We've been called in to help facilitate a situation. That's what we want to do, is what's right for this community and this board.
Did that answer my question, though, that you will or will not do it that way?
I hope I did. I want to do what's right. As we were called in this situation, we've said since the beginning we want to help the community. However, we don't feel it's good practice to piecemeal out your risk management coverage. It's just not, it's not good counsel, nor is it a wise structure to best protect. And in a lot of cases, that's when we see something that this person thinks this policy covers, and the other person says, oh, I think it's procured somewhere else. You need one person representing you in the marketplace.
I think we looked at it as their experience in working with municipal government could lend us the ability to better fine-tune our insurance coverages than what we currently have. And they may know things that, in all fairness, Mr. Evers, he may not be aware of, because he doesn't deal with that in his business on a continuous basis, where Mr. Faraday does.
I think all the council say that John Evers has done us a great job with insurance
Absolutely.
over the years, but John and Al especially have been working at this for 8 months. Our committee listened to you, and we all thought that this was the way to go. I make the motion that we go with PCM.
I think we need to, since John is here, you need to at least give him an opportunity to speak
Okay,
tonight.
I thought maybe we heard him last week.
Yeah.
That was, but yeah, that's good too.
Thank you,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
I gave you a bond proposal here a while back too, with a faithful performance endorsement on there, okay? Because it is, you are looking at a different carrier altogether for your bond. It can be done with the bonding company. You're staying with ICAP, right? I mean, you're not changing that.
Correct.
ICAP's gonna be there. ICAP's already coming in and going to evaluate your buildings. Bob Beatty's already had ICAP in here as a loss control specialist to look at the parks, to make sure everything's in order in the parks. So you can do the bond company with one carrier, and you can do the property liability with the other agent. So that choice is yours, on how you want to support it, a business in that way.
If we'd have got this 8 months ago, when you covered us, we'd have been all for it for you, but we hear this, and our government finance swayed this way, and everybody's got their vote.
I want to, and to John's point, I want to be very clear, and the message was also delivered to Mr. Faraday. It has never been a recommendation to leave ICAP or to forego that relationship. That is not part of this conversation. It is the local broker relationship only, but staying with ICAP. And I'll let the committee correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were pretty clear on that in visiting all the way through here.
That is correct.
The faithful performance bond piece, because the ICAP doesn't carry it, is the question. Yes, John, thank you.
And then ours ended up with Old Republic, as opposed to with the different carrier.
Yep.
No, I heard this before, but never any really numbers. I think Al, you was one that mentioned when we were talking, significant numbers, right? I heard that term. As to the bond.
Yes, the first time we went through this, we were at $700 or $1,000 per person. They were individual bonds. Right now, we're hearing things in that $1,500 or $2,000 as a blanket bond to cover everybody, and in fact, it covers not just those that are identified specifically in the state code, but by default, those direct reports within those categories that are identified. Or that was my understanding of it. So it's less than, at the end of the day, it was coming out at less than half the cost, if those estimates are accurate.
And with more coverage,
I won't say more coverage, I think it is.
more individuals?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, a broader coverage, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you, John.
Okay. Who's chairman of the finance committee? Do we have a chairman?
No.
Don't really have a chair.
Don't have a
Deb
chairman.
was
I-
making.
Deb made a motion.
Okay.
I would second Deb's motion.
Would you please repeat what your motion is?
Make the motion that we hire PGM, is that
BDCM.
PDCM.
Pete,
PCM,
BDCM.
PDC. Too many letters here. Chris Faraday,
Got it.
for
for our coverage for ICAP and for our bond.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. We need a roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
No,
Hannah,
Yes,
Vaughn,
No.
Yes. Five.
Yep.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next,
Thank you to the committee. That's not an easy decision or recommendation.
it's not a personal decision, it's a business decision we made.
okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a motion to close City Hall and use premium attendant on July 1st, 2019 for year-end procedures.
I'd make that motion.
Okay, motion by Kurtz,
Second.
seconded by Hill. Want to roll call on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve annual tobacco permits. I think you had a list of who all that was for. Did we get them all in, or did you still have a couple? that
I think
had-
we still have a couple that didn't come in yet.
Okay, so they'll
I'd
have,
make a motion, we approve them.
okay.
Second,
Motion by Kurt, second by Hannah to approve the annual tobacco permits for the ones that are in. Roll call.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
yes,
Hannah,
yes,
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the FBO lease amendment. Dan is here from our board.
This is comparable to the conversation that we had at a previous meeting. Council expressed concern over the pricing of the amendment for the added space. PNN has put together a modification to their proposal, which I've shared with you. It is based on square footage. And I know Dan from the airport board and Jackie from PNN are here to answer your questions.
in addition to the, the cost, the square footage, we also had we liked the idea of a lounge up there. I mean, that was one of the original ones, and that was what many of us felt it should be, so.
Well,
that's
that,
where we
that
are.
front part, I think, is still going to be the lounge area, that living room area out by the kitchen.
On the first floor?
Well, there'd definitely be one on the ground floor. That's not changing, but up above, you know, it's got the 3 bedrooms, and
Right.
like that kitchen and living room area. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's still, that
Right.
isn't being changed.
But that looks like it's in the lease here. It
Yeah.
says 3 bedrooms and living room.
But there's no change in purpose. And you can tell them about the purpose for the 3 rooms, that's changed a little bit as well.
So the 3 rooms, we're looking to do FAA written airman tests so that PNN and Independence Airport can be, expand on the services that we provide, and that basically we would be a comprehensive pilot provider from the airman written test to being able to provide a check ride examiner to come to the location to take the test. So basically, wing-to-wing pilot services. So the requirements for having FAA written test rooms, because we are already a FAA test site in Marion, so we already know how to execute this, what the requirements are. They require that we have 3 separate testing rooms and areas. Those 3 bedrooms are perfect in size. You can have a computer in there. You can lock the door. You need to, one of the requirements is that the test area can be locked. It needs to be free of distractions. Some folks had mentioned in the past that why don't we use the upstairs classroom for that? But the problem with that is it's a common area and some ground instruction goes on in there. We have a simulator in there and it wouldn't be free from distractions. So we wanted to include those 3 bedrooms in our lease so that we could use them as test rooms because we can close them, they can be distraction free and we can lock them.
Why do you need 3? You actually test 3
Yeah,
people
you
at one
have to
time?
have, well, you have
You
the
just have to have- even if you
FAA
don't use them.
requires, that's a requirement, you have to provide at least 3 test rooms. You have to be open at least three days of the week. There's a list of requirements, but those 3 rooms would, very honestly, they would work fantastic for
Has
that.
anybody been interested in testing out here? That we,
That was my next
We
one.
take those calls in Marion. We have folks asking if we have something available in this area specifically. We have fielded those calls. So we do believe there's gonna be traffic for that. In addition, Ankeny and Indian Hills, there's only 7 test sites in Iowa. Marion's one of them. 2 of them, Ankeny and Indian Hills, no longer provide that service. So now we're down to 5 if we were to add Independence Beach 6. And I do firmly believe that there would be traffic to support that. It would increase the activity at the airport, which is always a good thing. It would bring people there who wouldn't normally come and have exposure to the great facility we have out there. In addition, it would include the drone population. Because the drone tests, if they want to be a commercial drone pilot, they are required to take one of these FAA written tests.
so what does it cost them to take a test?
It costs $150.
And
It's-
who gets that money?
At the FAA does. We get a small fee to cover our proctor. We have to have an authorized
And the city don't get no
trained
fee out of that at
person.
all?
We get a very small amount.
The city?
It-
The city, yeah, we don't have
FBO does.
anything to do with the testing. I mean, the only thing we would have would be space.
So how many students have we passed as far as, since PNN's taken over? How many have taken the flight lessons from beginning to end and?
Flight lessons, we currently have 7 students. You need to realize too that spring is our busy time. We took over in October. The winter time is fall, even in Marion. But we have 7 active students right now. We have some in different phases. We've had a student who is taking lessons in Michigan and has transferred over. So some of them have come to us at different phases in their training. So we have 3 brand-new students. We have some that are about in the middle of the process.
Out here in Independence?
And then and we have some who are in the biannual flight review process. So we have students in all different phases of training right now. But right now, we have 7 active students. And Cole is teaching ground school through Hawkeye Community College. We have 10 students in that class. 1 has already signed up with us for flight lessons, so is a brand-new student. Luke from Jessup. And then there's others in that hat that are scheduled with us for intro flights and that are interested in doing the training through us. Again, it's all part of the package, the FAA written tests, the ground school. It's all tools to bring folks to the airport, get exposure to the airport, and drive additional activities there.
Why would Ankeny and the other airport you mentioned give up these kind of tests?
We don't know if they are, either they can't keep proctors, they can't meet the requirements. Some of them are, they're just not staffed enough to handle the traffic, so.
Those are pretty well-established, busy.
Yep, Ankeny, we get most of their traffic through Marion now. We can see anywhere from 35 to 50 in Marion in a month. And so we would expect, even if we were conservative, if we got 20 to 30% of that here, that would be 10 to 15 people that wouldn't have otherwise come to the Independence Airport. We get them there, and then we can perhaps indulge them in other services and activities there.
Do we have a mechanic out there yet?
We don't. We still have Connells on base, are still going to Connells. We do have a part-time person who's willing to come out and do oil change and simple things, but we haven't gotten any calls on that yet. Cole has reposted that position. Some of it's been hard to find a person. They either have to really relocate to Independence, or maybe they're a newer person and they don't quite fit, but we do have that posted right now. And we're trying to be sensitive to the Connells that are still out there and folks still going there. So it's kind of we have to be strategic about when we roll that out and have a full-time person there.
I like to go back here, though, looking at this, what we have in front of us, it says that you're willing to pay $25 for use of the discussed upstairs space, and it lists 3 bedrooms and a living room. I guess I still am concerned that the living room, at some point, somebody's going to be told they can't use it because we got people taking tests. Am I right on that?
So no, so since you can close the doors to the bedrooms, that's not gonna, if there's anyone using that common space or any future use down the road will not conflict with the testing rooms because we can close those doors.
Okay.
Are there any modifications that have to be made to make them
Nope,
simply having a door in the room?
yep,
This is $25 a month more.
right, based on, we did a calculation based on the square footage of what we have today, what that cost is, and then applied it to the square footage of the rooms, which is 520 square feet. And then, again, a lot of why we want to do this is not financial. It's mostly just to bring individuals to the airport and meet a need in this area.
Did we rent that apartment and get an income at one time out of that?
We have never rented the apartment out. It was part of a contract that we had with a previous airport manager / FBO. But the only people that we could rent it to would have to be aviation-related activities. It can't be Joe from down the street that needs a place to live. It has to be somebody that has a purpose at the airport, has a reason to be there. So you have a very limited market, because we just, the council said we don't want the airport manager out there because it's now a city employee versus a contract position. And all of those dynamics have changed pretty substantially. So with that in mind, we don't have a market for it.
Well,
The one-
I think the other thing was, when that apartment was first designed, was the intention of having somebody on site 24 hours a day. And that's kind of been done away with when we went to this new system of having a separate airport manager, because them being an hourly employee for us, it's not, you can't draw the line on when they're on duty, when they're off duty. And for years, they did have somebody that lived on the premises, whether it was the current or the previous airport manager or one of his employees actually lived there. So there was somebody available 24/7, because it is an enhanced service airport. We're required to do that. But that's not quite the case now. They have to be available on call, not necessarily on the premises at the time.
$25 seems like kind of a bargain to me.
That sounds like a really good deal.
That's almost like saying nothing,
And that's what we get our police station rent for 2 cents a square foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a difference if you're buying or selling.
I had a question. At the last presentation, I thought we were talking about you were bringing on another FBO to work with you on flight charters or something, and they were gonna have office space up there?
Yes, that was the initial discussion, but they had only a small window of time before they need to renew their lease with where they were at. So that has kind of fizzled, but I did want to just put a bug in the board's ear that we do need a fast track process. If somebody's interested in coming out to the airport and bringing their business there, we need a quick way to have those discussions, get an approval. Cole and I are really indifferent as to whether that is a sublease scenario through us or through the city. They can do a contract with the city. I think initially, that company had the relationship directly with Cole and I. They knew Cole and I. They had wanted to bring aircraft in, which the city would have enjoyed, a large amount of increased fuel sales and fuel flowage. But anyway, that did fizzle out, but if there's future endeavors that PNN sources or there's a relationship there and a business proposes maybe moving their business to Independence, I would just want the board to think, or the council to think about how we can fast track some of those, whether it be, again, them having a lease for office space directly with the city, but do keep in mind, usually what they're gonna be asking for is terminal hangar space, which is our space to negotiate, and we would, of course, work with them to do that. But for office space, I mean, Cole and I we are indifferent if that goes through us or through the city. We were just trying to get things moving along quickly, realizing that they had the relationship with us and they knew us.
I don't think the city is opposed to having additional FBOs come on board at the airport, but it will sustain itself, and I think it needs to go through the city versus a sublease from another FBO. I think it would be a lot cleaner situation, especially say 2 years down the road, you guys decide that you don't want to stay there anymore, and they're subleasing from you. We've got a real snake mess there. I can't even imagine how that would work out. Whereas if they had their own contract with the city for an FBO lease, it wouldn't foul up the system, I guess. And not that we want to bring somebody in that's going to be in direct competition with you guys, because I don't think that's the intent.
Right.
But we are looking for somebody that could maybe provide mechanics or avionics or whatever it might be that maybe you're not offering.
I will,
But yeah, to answer the first question, I'm sorry, I don't know that I addressed it. We, at this point, aren't necessarily looking to include that in our lease at this time, because that previous relationship that fizzled because they needed to make a decision quickly if they could do something different or if they needed to renew with the airport they were already at.
So if that would come up again, I keep going back to this lounge area. I mean, are you guaranteeing you're not gonna try to sublease that to somebody else if that came
No.
along?
And I think it's in the lease, or we can state it, that it's exclusively for test,
Okay.
for written tests,
To-
classrooms.
to to that point, I think, and what I've heard Jackie say as well as the council, that information that I've given you, if you strike that living room area upstairs, that would address that concern.
Okay, that's what I'm kind of getting at, because the way it looks here,
Yeah,
Cut that whole class
yeah,
out.
6 months from now, you could decide to do something else with that room.
right.
Okay.
No, but great.
All right,
This-
thanks for the
24
clarification.
hours a month for 3 rooms, not per room. I can't imagine where you get any kind of rent that cheap.
Couldn't rent a broom closet that cheap.
But it isn't
It's
a,
consonant with what they're paying.
They're already paying that, so that shouldn't even be, to me, shouldn't even be included. We should go from what these 3 rooms are worth to the city to run out.
The board's position was something's better than nothing, which we're getting now. You know, we're not getting any revenue from it at all right now. And if we can bring more business out there, the city will benefit from enhanced fuel flow. That was our thinking.
Is
Well,
it much
my
happier to be out there
concern-
at all?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
did you hear this update?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot going on out there, guys, and we're growing the airport. There's a lot of activity, and we have a lot of things in motion and plans that are gonna continue to bring more activity out there.
So more revenue to the city?
Well, our revenue is through our lease with the PNN, our T-hanger rents, and fuel.
Do we
And
have
the-
most of the hangars Rent it out.
Everything's full,
How much is T-hanger rent right now, Al?
$100.
I don't think $100 would be out of line on this deal. A month. I don't think, you know,
Well-
I really don't. You're getting 3 room, you're getting practically a whole apartment for $100 a month. You can't rent anything in this town for $100 a month. In fact, you go try to rent an apartment, you'll hard pressed to get it for $500 to $700 a month.
Well, the only thing I'll caution you on is there's a very limited amount of utilization for this. It's a very specific
Right, so when something
purpose
comes
that can be
along
used.
that'll pay $100 a month, we've still got it available.
Is this a renewable every year thing? Or is this
It would be part of the main lease. I don't know what you call it.
It's a 3-year lease with renewals built into that, but it is a 3-year lease that we have currently from October.
So there is a way that you can adjust that down the road based upon what's happening out there and.
Exactly. Yep.
Well,
And
the
this-
only comment I have is, when we figure all this up, you're using the terminal square footage plus the office downstairs square footage to figure out your cost per square foot. Well, that's fine, because the terminal is included in your lease, but you're also leasing out the space inside the terminal for the helicopter and the Malibu and whether 2 more other planes that are leasing space in there.
That's
So you're
revenue,
getting
correct?
income off of that. So all of a sudden, you guys are pretty much breaking even.
Well.
It's pretty much a free deal, yeah.
They're in it to
But-
make money.
I think that's the.
I'm trying to figure out how generous we're awful generous.
That's why they call us independents.
Well, just on that note, we have increased the terminal lease rate from $350 to $750 from what we had been getting, so.
Yeah, but I bet if you do the math on what you're getting for those 4 aircraft that are in there, that's probably paying that and more.
Well, I'd
for the
argue
FBO.
that you had as many or more aircraft in that terminal hangar when it was being rented for $350 as you are at $750.
No, I'm
That
just saying.
hasn't
I'm
changed.
just saying,
Right.
by the time you net it all out, it's practically free.
Yeah, well, Not arguing that point. The issue that you do have, just so you're apples to apples, is the previous FBO at $350 a month had the same planes or much of the same aircraft in there as what is in there currently.
And the apartment.
And didn't
And
we
the
give
apartment.
a special
But he
deal on
wasn't
3
making
T hangars?
$60,000 a year.
As part of your lease also?
55.
What's that, Mike?
Not,
You gave a special
I'm going back too many.
Yeah.
deal on 3 T hangars for,
For
yeah.
FBOs.
Right. But we've also filled all the T-hangers, which weren't before.
Well, they were at one time within the last 2.5 years.
I don't know, the last couple of years, I know they haven't been, I don't know about before that, but I know the last couple of years they weren't.
This is the first time we've had them filled since Mr. Walters left. I mean, we had
Right.
vacancies in there up until, 3-4 months ago, I think it is,
Sure.
roughly, so.
The airport board's on board with this, to the tune of 4-1.
Right. The opposing vote was mostly because they wanted to stick to the original purpose of the apartment for security. Well, that's not gonna happen in today's environment or structure.
Should there be somebody out there 24/7?
That's a policy decision that the council would have to make. We cannot do it under our current structure. That's absolutely not workable. We did add our self-serve fuel system to address the biggest concern about having somebody out there 24 hours a day.
And the airport's secure. I mean, it's fenced and gated, it's secure, and you guys patrol it regularly.
Do you have a,
Yeah, they go out whenever they want to, if they're not busy, they don't go out and try to do it.
that's good to hear.
And I just wanted the council to consider, like I said, this is not a moneymaker for us by any means. It's more about us being a comprehensive services provider that draws more people to the airport.
And you're making a big attempt to get that airport back up and running like it was when we had a full-time FBO living at the facility, which has been several years, so.
I make a motion, we approve this amendment.
Just to clarify, minus the living room space of 206 square feet.
Correct.
I'd second that.
Okay, motion by Hayward, second by Hill to approve the amendment. Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
No.
McLaughlin,
No.
Hannah,
No,
Vaughn,
No,
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
motion failed.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
giving it away.
Oh, that one is yours. Sorry, so I just had one more thing I wanted to bring up, really quickly. There was, so I wanted to talk to the board today, request the city council's permission for us to sublease a hangar to Merritt Jones. The reason is, currently the city doesn't have a hangar available to lease to Merritt. The only hangar available is ours, which is Merritt has indicated that he does want to lease. PNN would do so we would want to do this so we can jointly secure Merritt, both from a city perspective and an FBO. We don't want to see him go. So it would make sense, and I think be in the best interest of everyone involved, that since it's our hangar, we go ahead and do the lease under the same terms that he would have done with the city. So $100 a month.
Is that temporary until something opens up?
It can be. He has an actual attachment to that hangar because his aircraft's been in there for a long time. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you can get him, or we can do a swap of some sort, we would be open to that, but that's what we're proposing to do in the
So if
meantime.
another one opens up, would you guys want that hangar to replace this one?
We could, or we could keep it where the lease with him is intact. It's honestly, I guess it's.
So you'd
the
go with
preference
two
is- we just
hangars
don't want
instead
him
of
to
three?
go. No, we would probably, if we can't sublease it to him, then we would, because our contract says we can sublease as long as we have the permission of the city.
Okay, I'm just saying that you would stay with those three hangars, but one would be subleased, so you
Right.
just have
Two
two
would be
for
for our
your own.
training aircraft, yeah.
And we can't take action on this formally tonight. If the council wants to, or has objections, I think it'd be important to know that, but at this point, it's not on the agenda, so I'd be uncomfortable with taking formal action.
So we can put it on the agenda for next.
Or deliberating on it at all, in fact,
Yeah.
at this point.
It
But
would have to be at
It
a
could be
future.
brought back to the next meeting easily enough.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right.
Thank you.
And I didn't get a chance to introduce myself to everyone. I'm Jackie. So I am the Vice President of PNN Flight and Charter and also Operations Manager. And Cole is my son. I just know that you've worked with him a lot in the past, and I just wanted to introduce myself. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you, Next on the agenda is Ward 4 Sidewalk Project. A motion to set date and time of public hearing as June 24th, 2019 at 6:30 PM.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf, seconded by,
I'll second it.
here, second by Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. We are down to new category. And this one, we do have a request to go into closed session for the first one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I need to verify with the city attorney the ability to legally enter into a closed session for the records.
I just heard audibly that the city administrator has requested that the matter be held in closed session. Under Iowa Code Section 21.51I, we are legally within our rights to do that under the Iowa Code because the purpose of the meeting is to evaluate the professional competency of the city administrator.
So do we need a motion for that or roll call to do?
You need a
to go into
roll call.
closed- Roll call
Roll
for
call
closed
vote, correct.
Okay. But not, it doesn't have to be a motion, just a roll call vote to go into
No, you
closed
need a
session.
motion.
Okay.
I'd make a motion, we go into closed session.
I second.
Motion by Kurt, second by O'Loughlin to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.